Hey, welcome to BSP TV. Today I've got Tony Curl with me, or Coach Curl as he is known from Think and Grow Business. Tony, how are you today?
I am fantastic, Kev. How are you?
You're always fantastic, Tony. Look, I'm awesome, and the show is going on. We are continuing with this, and I just realised I hadn't turned my phone off. Really professional that was. Now, what we're going to be talking about today is leadership.
Yes,
And developing leadership, and it's a really big question because so many people think, oh, well, I don't need to have leadership until I've got a team.
that's true. A lot of small business owners, especially solopreneurs or sole traders or even professionals that just contract out their service. It's not that they don't believe they need leadership. It's that it's almost that concept of, well, I don't have anyone to lead, so why should I develop leadership skills? And there's so much that a small business operator, a solo, or even if you've got a small team, and a lot of people have small teams with friends, and they think that that's going to continue to develop a prosperous relationship. But ultimately, leadership and developing your leadership skills helps you build relationships.
Absolutely, but before we can lead others, we need to lead ourselves. So we need to really start with that basis because the stronger leader you are, the greater trust you're going to build. Hey.
Yeah, self leadership's critical, Kev, and every owner must have or should have strong self leadership skills because, as you were saying, if you can't lead yourself, you are going to really struggle to lead others because if we don't have good self leadership skills, we get distracted, we get the shiny syndrome, we get unfocused, we get overwhelmed. All of these things are as a result of us being unable to lead ourselves, and that's where we always start with any sort of leadership development, starting to look at those skill sets that potentially the disciplines that we need to develop our self leadership.
And for mine, leadership is all about building relationships. Okay, whether it's in your private life or in business,
Yep.
to me, leadership is the basis of those relationships.
I'm not going to argue with you. Leadership is about building relationships. It's a key component of it. And what I see is that as people develop their leadership skills, they can develop stronger and more positive business relationships. And one of the things with leadership right throughout the ages, you can pinpoint leaders that have been great for the greater good, and then you can still pinpoint leaders that have been horrible leaders in the context of history. But at the same time, they've had those leadership skills that have been able to get people on board, build relationships, get people to follow them. And ultimately, that's to my belief that leadership is all about, well, John Maxwell says it's all about influence, nothing more, nothing less. It's about how you create that influence with people that builds those followers that are wanting to follow you because of who you are, who you represent, and what you can do for what I would call the greater good.
Fantastic. So, what's leadership to you?
Well, Kevin, I think it's always an evolution, and it's interesting. I'm doing a workshop coming up soon for the ASPAS program, and it's about the key leadership skills within small business. And you go in and you look for a definition of leadership, and there's thousands of them. So really, leadership is a personal one, and the one that I really like is that I've forgotten the person's name at this particular point in time, but the best definition for leadership is you read widely, you understand what it is, and then you make up your own. So I really like that because in so many ways that's what leadership is all about. But I think the key skills that anyone needs, especially coming out of what we're coming out of with the pandemic and the crisis, and I spoke about this on my podcast. I think there's 5 key skills that you need at the moment to be a leader and to be able to building relationships and creating success. The first one is the ability to be able to listen. I think that is critical for everyone at the moment because we're tuning out. There's a lot of noise. We're sticking to our pathway, our mindset, but we really need to listen and not just listen to look like I'm listening, to actually listen. Wasn't it Stephen Covey that said, seek first to understand, then be understood? So that style of listening is what we're talking about. Number 2 is the ability to have empathy. for people to be able to put ourselves into other people's shoes, understand them, understand where they're coming from. Number 3 is having the right intention. Now, intention is critical for a leader, because if you're going in to build a relationship and have the wrong intention, or you've got an agenda or whatever it is, ultimately that facade will crumble. So you've got to have intention in what it is that you're doing, but you've also got to approach things like relationships with the right intention. And I'm sure I'm not just talking about. I know that this is something strong with you as well, Kev. If I'm going into a relationship and someone's got a problem and I'm not the right person to fix or to help solve that problem, I'm going to tell them about someone else that's probably a better fit to solve that problem, because that's having the intention of doing the right thing by the customer or the client. So I think that's really, really important. Number 4 is the skill to be able to coach. Ask questions, be curious. I mean, if we just all get a little bit more curious around the world in which we live in, I think that we're going to have a much better place. And then the last one, I know this is another one that's really strong in your world, Kev. It's that building of a respectful environment. And when we talk about a respectful environment, and you asked me the question, how can you have a respectful environment without trust? Now, I can show respect to someone who I may not necessarily trust, but if I want to create a respectful environment and having a relationship within that, trust is critical. So, and as we know, trust is just one of those foundations of business, and it magnifies results. It increases the speed of our ability to do business, and it lowers our costs because we're not putting as many compliance or checkpoints into it, because we're trusting someone to do what it is that they set out to do. So they're the 5 key skills that I see at the moment that a leader has to embrace. And I think if you embrace each and every one of them, you are going to build some fantastic relationships.
Absolutely. Look, thanks very much for your time today. I really appreciate you talking about this. Now, you're talking about those 5 elements of leadership in far more detail next week at 10 o'clock, and how and you're going to help people develop them. So what are they going to get at the end of the show? What will they
I think people will understand what it takes for a leader to move, and I think we're talking, the concept is 5 levels of leadership. Number 1 level is position. People follow you because they have to. You're the boss, you're the manager. But even to take from step 1 to step 2 is all about people follow you because they want to. So understand that skill set that drives people to say, this person's of good standing. It's someone that I want to follow because of who they are, not necessarily of the title that they have. And I think if people can walk away with that, and they will walk away with that from the workshop that we're doing next week, it's going to help them build better relationships with customers, their suppliers, their team, within their network. It will help them start to, I suppose, join the dots on what it takes to build better and stronger business relationships.
So awesome. I'm looking forward to next week's show. Thank you very much for being part of the whole Reboot program, because, hey, we've been locked down or we've been through in the world of COVID for over a year now. Yeah. And the world's changed so much. So it really is that opportunity to have that time to take stock, look at where you're at, look at where you're going, and identify the things that you need to change within your business to keep running a more effective and improved business. So thank you very much for being part of the show.
Oh, it's my pleasure, Kevin. As you were saying, the world is certainly getting more divisive, disruptive. It just continues to evolve, sometimes not in the world's best ways, and it's our ability to be able to navigate that effectively and proactively that's going to create business success for each and every one of us. So thank you for all the hard work behind the scenes in Reboot. I can just imagine the amount of investment of your time and your energy that you've placed into that. So I think on behalf of me anyway, and I'm sure the remainder of the BSB community, thank you very much, because it has been something that is very much needed at the moment. So thanks, Kev.
Thank you. I may have a little less hair than I had a month ago, but thank you very much, Tony.